Hey guys, welcome back to the Prehistoric Life Podcast. And today we are back with another tournament battle. This time it is the Ceratosaurus versus the Carnotaurus. Triple crest versus double horn lizards. All right, so let's dive right into this, starting off with the measurements of Carnotaurus. Carnotaurus is coming in at a whopping 2.5 feet tall, give or take. Not feet, sorry, hang on. 2.5 meters tall, coming in at about 9 foot. So yeah, this thing is a whopping 9 feet tall, and it's coming in at about a 8-meter length, so about 25 feet, and weighing about 1 ton. The 1-ton lizard. 1 ton. So there's the Carnotaurus. It is another Abelisaurus. So if you do not know what that means that its main prey tends to be like, what did Carnotaurus eat? Although it was clearly a meat eater, nobody knows for sure what type of animal Carnotaurus hunted. Many experts think the probably preyed on large sauropod dinosaurs. Teeth belonging to related Abelisaurus have been found with sauropod remains, so it seems likely. So this thing was a very capable hunter, and it took down larger sauropod dinosaurs. If you don't know what a sauropod is, that's like Brachiosaurus, Apatosaurus, Diplodocus, things like that. And it had a bite force of about 3,392 newtons of force. So this thing could bite. It's got some bite. And of course, it's got the horns, so it might have head-butted too, possibly. Who knows? So this thing is a vicious killer, and it feasted on large sauropods. But so yeah, that's the Carnotaurus breakdown. So let's move to Ceratosaurus. Place you here. I'm trying to get it balanced, since that one won't balance apparently. Let's go to the Ceratosaurus breakdown. Ceratosaurus coming in at about 2 meters, so like kind of right under Ceratosaurus in height, or Carnotaurus in height. Coming in at about 6 meters long, so it's a bit shorter. And if you don't know what that means, that's about 6 foot and 6 foot tall and about 19 feet long, and weighing about 1.1 tons. So it's pretty hefty. I couldn't find an official reading on its bite force on study.com apparently, but what I found for the bite force for Carnotaurus had something right under it for Ceratosaurus. So I'm going to trust the National Institute of Health.gov. Why they have this, I have no idea. Ceratosaurus apparently had a bite force of 2,432. And you only need, if you bite on someone, the most powerful breeds your bone. So, of pressure to break bone. You need 4,000 newtons of force to break a typical human femur. A femur. And that is like solid bone. If I'm not mistaken, that's in your leg. Let's see if it will actually pop up. Yes, it is in your leg. It is your thigh bone. So you need about 4,000 newtons of force to break your thigh bone. So both of these are under that. Carnotaurus coming in at 3,392 and Ceratosaurus coming in at 2,432. So don't expect them to be biting and ripping each other's limbs off. So one thing that Ceratosaurus has on Carnotaurus is usable front limbs, usable forelimbs for grabbing and slashing. Carnotaurus does have the better bite force than Ceratosaurus. Ceratosaurus is smaller, so Carnotaurus has more. Actually, I think it has less weight to throw around. Weight of Carnotaurus. Weight of Ceratosaurus. All right, so Carnotaurus was about 2,900 to 4,600 pounds. I was wrong. And Ceratosaurus is about 2,200 pounds. Ceratosaurus was tiny. So, in all actuality, Ceratosaurus is smaller. It had a weaker bite force, and the only thing it really has going for it is more useful forelimbs. Carnotaurus is larger, has more weight to throw around, has horns on its head, has the better bite force. And I think that pretty much covers everything that needs to be covered about these two bad boys. So I guess let's go ahead and dive in on this battle. All right, so let's dive in. So Ceratosaurus and Carnotaurus come up over a dead Diplodocus. Sure, pick a random sauropod. I like Diplodocus. And they lock eyes, and they realize they have to fight for this. Carnotaurus yells out and screams and screeches at Ceratosaurus while Ceratosaurus roars, not backing down. They both charge in. Carnotaurus puts its head down while Ceratosaurus also kind of puts its head down. They ram skulls together. Carnotaurus's horns slashing with the triple crests of Ceratosaurus. They both are dazed slightly as they shake it off. Ceratosaurus quickly roars at Carnotaurus. Carnotaurus bites the back of Ceratosaurus' neck straight down, towering over Ceratosaurus. Only like 1 meter taller, but whatever. No, it's like half a meter. It's not even that much. So Carnotaurus bites down. Ceratosaurus, as Carnotaurus pushes down, Ceratosaurus puts its forelimbs on the ground, keeping itself up as it rips its neck from the jaws of Carnotaurus. Carnotaurus quickly nips at the side of the neck again, ripping some flesh off, as Ceratosaurus quickly turns and roars at Carnotaurus. Then, with its mouth still open from the roar, it bites the side of the neck of Carnotaurus. With its hand, it actually slashes and lacerates the short nose of Carnotaurus, cutting its face open. As Ceratosaurus bites down, it's breaking flesh, but once it reaches that backbone, there's not much that it can actually do. As it rips part of flesh, meat, bone, or not bone, flesh, meat, skin, lacerating the top and the bottom of the neck, Carnotaurus stands up, shakes it off. It puts its arms out, roaring at Ceratosaurus. Ceratosaurus, confused, tilts its head a little bit and roars. But then Ceratosaurus charges in. Carnotaurus quickly brings its head up and then down, headbutting the top of Ceratosaurus, dazing Ceratosaurus. As Carnotaurus then lowers its head to the side of Ceratosaurus, headbutting the side of Ceratosaurus, jamming one of its horns right into the eye of Ceratosaurus. Ceratosaurus, roaring quickly, takes its hand and slashes at the nose of Carnotaurus, its own blood entering its nostrils. As Ceratosaurus keeps slashing at the face. Carnotaurus rips its horn out at Ceratosaurus' eye, blinding Ceratosaurus. All Carnotaurus can smell and see is its own blood in half of its face. So its right eye, it's bloody, it's bleeding down. It can only smell its own blood. It can't even smell Ceratosaurus. They're both down an eye. They roar at each other, charging in. Ceratosaurus quickly, using its smaller, agile state to kind of sidestep out of the way of Carnotaurus as Carnotaurus nips at Ceratosaurus. Misses all three as Ceratosaurus quickly bites at the leg of Carnotaurus, ripping the thigh flesh off, using its teeth to kind of shear it off, taking a chunk out of Carnotaurus' leg. Carnotaurus looks over at Ceratosaurus and roars, quickly nipping at the face of Ceratosaurus, biting its nose and its face jaw, clamping down its superior bite force, ripping and tearing at the flesh, almost about to break that bone. The bone is frail, starting to crack as Ceratosaurus rips its face from Carnotaurus' jaws, screaming in agony as it bleeds out from its nostrils, from its face. Not even its nostrils, its face. Blood gushing from one eye, the entire face lacerated, part of the neck ripped off. Carnotaurus, they circle each other. Carnotaurus bleeding from its face, its nose, slash wounds. Its eye has been cut open by the hand. Part of its thigh, it's limping. Carnotaurus quickly charges in, roaring at Ceratosaurus as Ceratosaurus tries to sidestep, but is too late. The side of Ceratosaurus is exposed, and Carnotaurus rams right into the side, knocking Ceratosaurus to the ground. Carnotaurus quickly regains its whereabouts and charges in, biting and ripping at the stomach and the sides of Ceratosaurus, tearing flesh from bone, meat from skin, skin from meat, ripping and tearing and slashing at the sides of Ceratosaurus. As Ceratosaurus starts to bleed out, with its foot, it actually kicks the face of Carnotaurus, completely slashing skin off the face of Carnotaurus on the same side that it was already bleeding through the eye, completely tearing its eye out. Carnotaurus roars at Ceratosaurus as Ceratosaurus tries to get up, bleeding from its side. It's able to use its arms to push itself up as it headbutts the bottom jaw of Carnotaurus. Whack! Some of the teeth of Carnotaurus falls out. Carnotaurus, dazed, doesn't know what happened as it bites the top of Ceratosaurus' neck, not knowing what it's biting as it just clamps its jaws tight, trying to rip flesh from bone. Ceratosaurus doesn't know what's going on. Blood gushing, its adrenaline pumping as Carnotaurus completely rips flesh and meat from the back of the bone, exposing part of the vertebrate from the back of Ceratosaurus' neck. Ceratosaurus falls down to one leg as it's bleeding out from the neck. Falls down on one side. It's bleeding out from its side, its neck, and its face. Carnotaurus only bleeding from its face and its thigh. Not that bad, though. Even part of its neck, too. Ceratosaurus and Carnotaurus don't have the capability of just breaking each other's neck and ending this now. So it's a battle of attrition. A battle of who can last longer. Ceratosaurus and Carnotaurus roar at each other, trying to see who will fall. Carnotaurus quickly sprinting in and biting the face of Ceratosaurus, ripping more flesh and meat from bone, exposing part of the side to faceplate of Ceratosaurus. As Ceratosaurus takes his hand and slashes the other side of the face of Carnotaurus. Ceratosaurus bites the bottom jaw of Carnotaurus as Carnotaurus bites the upper jaw. Their jaws clamping down on each other. Ceratosaurus is actually able to tear the tongue and even part of the bottom jaw, the flesh on the bottom of the jaw off, ripping it clean off. Where there's no bone on the bottom of the jaw of Carnotaurus, you can see straight through its mouth as blood drips on the floor. But Carnotaurus doesn't back away easily, though. It rips even the whole horn, snap clean off even part of the teeth, some of the roof of the mouth, the face, just ripped off of Ceratosaurus as they're both standing there bleeding out. Ceratosaurus is getting lightheaded. Carnotaurus is getting lightheaded. They're stumbling at each other, bleeding, gushing blood. It's not as simple as snap, the neck is broken. They must fight till one bleeds out. They charge in at each other one more time. Carnotaurus sidestepping, Ceratosaurus sidestepping to the other direction as they both miss with their mouth. But Ceratosaurus quickly recovers and headbutts the wound of Carnotaurus, injuring its leg even more as it falls over. Carnotaurus tries to get up, but Ceratosaurus bites and chunk out of the leg, ripping the bone, not breaking the leg, but just ripping muscle so it can't stand easily. Carnotaurus' little arm flap as Ceratosaurus bites it and rips all of the flesh and skin clean off. Right at a joint, through the ligaments between the joint. Crunch, biting the arm off from a joint. Carnotaurus bleeding from its missing arm, from chunks of its leg, its face. It gets up, one of its legs wobbling as it quickly headbutts the side of Ceratosaurus as hard as it can. And through the slight gap in the skull that there usually is, its horn pierces straight through the snout of Ceratosaurus, straight through the side of the snout. As Carnotaurus is lodged in there, Ceratosaurus uses its arms to start lacerating the face of Carnotaurus, tearing skin, part of the mouth, even the neck, just chunks of skin out. Ceratosaurus is screaming in pain and agony as it rips at the face of Carnotaurus. Carnotaurus not able to do much as it tries to just bite some skin off of the side of Ceratosaurus' face, what it can get at. It tries to pull its horn from the snout of Ceratosaurus, but it's lodged in there. Ceratosaurus keeps slashing and slashing at the face of Carnotaurus as Carnotaurus starts to fall over. Its horn finally getting unlodged, ripping, even snapping off, staying lodged in the face of Ceratosaurus. Ceratosaurus bleeding as it collapses to the ground, barely able to stand. It's barely able to rise back up as Carnotaurus falls over. Ceratosaurus screams out at Carnotaurus, not backing down an inch, as Carnotaurus stands up, roaring at Ceratosaurus. Neither of them willing to back down. Neither of them willing to back down from this battle of attrition. They're both slamming into each other, not willing to lose. Ceratosaurus and Carnotaurus headbutting each other, slamming into each other, biting and ripping at each other. Carnotaurus is not backing down. It towers over Ceratosaurus as it finally bites down, its teeth slamming into the eye, right over the mouth, slamming into the eye on both sides. Its teeth ripping at even the very side chunks of the small brain of Ceratosaurus as it rips straight up, pulling skin, flesh, whatever it can, clean off of Ceratosaurus as it just Ceratosaurus bleeds out, not being able to win. Ceratosaurus falls to the ground in a puddle of its own blood as it bleeds out. Carnotaurus steps on the face of Ceratosaurus, start trying to crush its skull, but Ceratosaurus just spits out blood. It's over. Carnotaurus walks over to the legs of Ceratosaurus, whipping and ripping and ripping at whatever it can. And just ripping at the legs and the arms of Ceratosaurus. The Ceratosaurus still lacerates the face of Carnotaurus. Carnotaurus is finally victorious. Ceratosaurus isn't dead, but it's motionless, bleeding out. Carnotaurus limps over to the dead sauropod as it takes chunks out of it, victoriously eating. All right. So, yeah, that was a lot. There was a lot of gruesome blood fighting. So, yeah, there's a lot there. So I'm saying Carnotaurus is winning. The main advantages that Ceratosaurus would have is it's more functional arms. I guess it is a better swimmer because of that. Sorry, I'm looking at something too. Possibly more stable. Yeah, it's probably more stable too because it could stand on its front legs and things like that too. Its disadvantage was it's smaller and lighter. It had a weaker bite force and it was a less experienced hunter because its main prey was things like Stegosaurus. So it wasn't less, it was less experienced, but Carnotaurus was fighting things like sauropods and massive dinosaurs. So it was capable of fighting big dinosaurs. But the advantages of Carnotaurus were that it was larger, it had a stronger bite force, it had a head ramming attacks, and it was more experienced hunter. The main disadvantage was just its useless arms. That was pretty much it. See swimming coming in any of this. But yeah, I'm giving Ceratosaurus the victory on this, or not Ceratosaurus, Carnotaurus the victory on this. Simply because it was larger, it had a bigger bite force. And here's the thing. Neither of them had the capability of just biting clean through like the center of bone. So yes, I did say Ceratosaurus ripped the arm off of Carnotaurus, but I said at a joint. Joints are weaker than like the middle of your arm. If you can like drill a hole through your joint and like lose your arm. Don't quote me on that. But like it's easier to cut something off at the joint than like the center of the arm. So Ceratosaurus couldn't bite through like the middle of the leg of Carnotaurus, but at the knee, it could probably tear at it and rip things away. So neither of them had the capability of breaking bone. So this was a battle of attrition, a battle of bleeding out. That sounds horrible and gruesome. So what do I mean by that? Since they can't just grab each other by the neck and bite and snap each other's neck or rip the vertebrae out like I usually say, or have some kind of massive enough horn to kind of ram through the throat and out the back of the spine, completely killing it. It's a battle of we're going to rip each other's flesh and like meat off each other's bones, and whoever bleeds out first loses. So Ceratosaurus is losing that based on the fact that it's smaller, so it has a smaller circulatory system. It has less blood in its body. It had a weaker bite force, so it could tear less things, less meat and bone and stuff off the body. It did have more usable hands, so it was slashing at Carnotaurus's face. Carnotaurus had the horns, had the bigger bite force. It was larger. It had more weight to throw around. Its circulatory system was probably better because it was larger, so it probably had more blood in its body. So it had more to spare, if that makes sense. But yeah, notice how I say Ceratosaurus didn't really die at the end. It was more alive when Carnotaurus just like slammed it to the ground. It was just bleeding out. It was just game over. It could not move. It was dazed. It was bleeding out. So again, Carnotaurus is the victor. And if you want to see these magnificent creatures out, I suggest checking out Fossil Trips. Just a suggestion. Tell them Prehistoric Life sent you. They'll give you $250 off your tickets. I suggest the Red Rocks and Raptors one because that's the one that my boy, Dr. Brian Curtis himself, is leading. But you'll probably get to see a Ceratosaurus on there. So if you do, tag me in any pictures. If you want their Instagram, there is their Instagram account. So please go check that out. That's their Instagram account. They got information from there. I'm sure you can reach out to them and message them if you have any questions. Please hurry up and load. I don't know what that pop-up thing is. Hang on. It's not going away. I'm clicking. Go away, X button. Thank you. So there's their Instagram account. Please go check that out. They got amazing posts. He's an amazing dude. I'm sure if you reach out to him with questions, he will answer all of your questions. But while you're checking out their Instagram account, please go check out my Instagram account. It's at Prehistoric Life Podcast or at Prehistoric_Life_podcast. I post additional content about museums that I go to, episodes coming out, things like that. So that was actually the SC State Museum that I went to. You can see things like holiday posts, dinosaurs of the week, cool episode leaks, additional content, things like that. And that's on Instagram. So please go check that out. And if you want to see my episodes early, I try to post them earlier on YouTube. You could probably guess the YouTube by now. It's Prehistoric Life Podcast. Yeah, I know. Pretty obvious. I'm kidding. But I try to post everything on there 2 days earlier. So please go check that out. Go subscribe. You can see everything earlier. And if you want all of that in one area, go check out my website, prehistoriclifepodcast.com. I try to have everything on there. From there, you can see the episodes in the app. You can get my YouTube, my Instagram. If I ever open a shop, I'll put it in there. But yeah, so till next time, I'm your host, Eric Crawford, signing off. I will see you all later. This has been Prehistoric Life Podcast, and remember, keep it prehistoric. Goodbye.